Cincinnati is back to their winning ways after entering the era of the Kubo show. Some late heroics in that last match out west shows FC Cincinnati fans that there is another way this club can find a way to win. I think we saw that with Acosta and Kubo as they ended up taking a pair of Team of the Week awards. And I think we all now get to worry about CB depth again and go new half of the season, new problems, new things to worry about, new things to celebrate. At least it's interesting for us. Just when you thought everything was fine, though, in that back line, of course, we will address that tonight with the Miazga injury. You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, the podcast that has somehow been around since the beginning, talking about soccer in our Queen City. I'm Boston Brazel. I'm joined tonight by Brian Biedenbach, Jason Ashcraft, and newly on the show, Bill Taylor. Bill, welcome in. I want to get your resume out there. I know you used to coach for Sycamore, but you're a soccer guy through and through. So tell us how you got acquainted with FC Cincinnati and introduce yourself to the audience.
So, yeah, my name Bill Taylor, obviously, as you heard, and huge soccer fan. Started playing 50 plus years ago when I was 5 years old. Played every season all the way through high school. Won some awards, Best in City awards and stuff like that while I played. Went into coaching for a decade at Sycamore High School here locally. Enjoyed every moment of it, and then had to go get a real job and pay some bills and grow up a little bit. So that was really fun, really an adventure. But we were talking before we aired, you know, the FC thing is a phenomenon. The attendance, the facility. I mean, we've tried so many times to bring professional soccer to Cincinnati at some level. And over the decades, we've just never been able to make it work. Now the city fully embraces it. The fan base is from 2 to 82. And it's really phenomenal to see all the different ages, genders, and everything really getting involved in the sport and really supporting FC Cincinnati out there. And I think it makes a difference in the performance of the team, having a big crowd that's right behind you. And I think that's very important.
Well, it's good to have you. You talk about that. I just remembered, the big news that broke last week that we put a bid in for a women's team. So you never know how much this is just going to keep going and keep growing. Hopefully we have some time at the end of the show to talk about that because I'm stoked. I'm so stoked I went to watch an NWSL game this weekend. Let me introduce these guys in here. I'll bring them in, and then they'll jump right into their best and worst, and we'll get the show on the road. Jason, how are you? Welcome back.
I'm doing well. Got my Superman shirt on to commemorate Yu Kubo's Superman-like performance this past weekend. So I'm ready to talk about our hero from the land of the rising sun.
All right. Give us your best and worst, sir.
Oh, my best and worst. My best is that good teams find a way to win. This was a game that if it had trap game written all over it, not a very good team in San Jose, not a very good pitch, playing at an odd time for us in the Eastern time zone. FC Cincinnati has a way of letting bad teams play well, which they did in this match, but they found a way to win. You got goals from Pavel Buka. You had the great hat trick from Yu Kubo. You had Acosta playing well, and even with Miazga going down, that could have taken the wind out of their sails, and they didn't let that happen. So I think that fills me with a lot of hope as we head into that second half of the season coming up, and especially with the playoffs, hopefully we'll be in there. Worst, I have to say San Jose's pitch. I think they went over to the San Jose Sharks arena and actually just took the hockey rink and put it down and maybe just painted it green or something, because guys were slipping and sliding all over the place. I know that they have like a kind of like a mixture kind of grass like we do, with some artificial, some natural, but maybe they sprayed it with like canola oil or something. Guys were just flying everywhere, and it was not a good surface to be playing soccer on.
You heard a lot of talk online about. You didn't hear a peep on the broadcast or from MLS on it, but the fans seemed to notice. Both sets of fans. I did see some San Jose fans online admit that it gets bad every year in the second half of the season, and apparently they don't have grow lights, and that's something they really need to get invested in. And there's a couple other things that they seem to cut corners on. But this is the same team owner that wouldn't even put the facade on a stadium that he agreed, and he had to get sued and told by
Well,
MLS.
this is the same team owner that owns the Oakland Athletics too.
Yeah.
If that tells you everything you need to know about the show that is the San Jose Earthquakes, that they're stuck with that piece of work as their owner.
I don't envy him, because at least the stadium thing was so silly to me, because it's like, imagine FC Cincinnati Stadium but without the fins, but you promised you'd do the fins, and then you just don't do it. And that's essentially what he did for a while. And then finally everybody made him fulfill his promise, but he was pretty mad about it. All right, Brian, we'll bring in best and worst. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. That everybody wants to say the pitch, man. I wanted to jump in on that one too, but I thought, somebody's going to say that.
Don't worry, it's not the end of the pitch.
No. It's gonna continue. My favorite was Pellegrino on his first break, and we'll talk about that later. But my worst, I'll start with my worst, is just our defense against the San Jose counterattack. I think that as much as we pushed forward, they kept people high and played. And Pellegrino was fast, man. He was getting by our guys, and we just did not have the speed to keep up. And definitely, again, it goes back to the pitch. When we cut, we'd fall, they'd fall. It was just ugly all around on defense, playing against that counterattack. I think we maybe didn't have the right personnel in there. We'll talk a little bit about that probably a little bit later too. But my best, man, is the Acosta Kubo chemistry that continues to develop. Like, I think we saw that earlier in the season as Kubo began starting at forward, and things were a little slow. It was starting to develop, and then things just clicked. I think Kubo's making the runs that Acosta's seeing and Acosta wants him to make, and things are just starting to click, man. So that was my best. I'd love to see that partnership continue to develop as we search for who's going to play up there next to Kevin Kelsey moving forward.
Yeah, they're having fun out there. That's for sure. All smiles.
All smiles.
All right, Bill, best and worst.
All right. Well, my best, little thunder stolen there, but I think the distribution from the midfield forward to Acosta was there, and that's what allowed him to distribute to Kubo. The one thing I will say, Acosta, I watch him, and sometimes I think he makes the dumbest move possible and gives the ball up. But other times he does things with the ball that I never thought were possible. So if he's not a true MVP candidate at this time, something's wrong. He has just shown that he will distribute. He's not greedy. He's not selfish. So I got to think. And then don't forget, somebody has to finish that. So Kubo, his finishes were spot on with his timing. I don't think those 3 shots go into the back of the net 90% of the time. He might get 2, he might get 1, but all 3 perfectly timed, perfectly placed, right time, right place was great chemistry. Of course, when we move into the worst, the Miazga injury, and I'm sure we'll get into that, the pitch's role in that has got to be addressed. I mean, this is potentially, if there are stitches involved, and Noonan was very avoidant on the questioning about how long he'd be out, other than he's not going to play Wednesday. An extended absence from our best defender may have a significant impact. Luckily, the schedule is kind of in our favor the next couple of games, but as it could be, there's always the trap. So you got to be careful, especially at home.
Yeah, I'll pick up with that. Go straight into my worst first, because I think the Miazga injury has big ripples, because the summer window's in a month. And what if the only plan was to bring in, an attacker, midfielder, and the defense was fine and shored up? I think no matter what the plan was for the summer window, it impacts it. It will change what we have to do if it's a lingering issue that's going to be months and months and months, or heaven forbid, the rest of the season. So Hopefully not. Hopefully it's smaller, but I do think it's going to have some kind of lasting impact. And that's really what I'm worried about more than anything is as my worst. And I agree with you. I think the pitch even cost them, which is just like crazy. They're the home team, but does that first FC Cincinnati Bucha goal happen if it's not for that pitch? I mean, that's the true wildness of that. It's like it's not just hurting us, it's hurting them as well. So, and they have to play on it way more than we do. Best, it was just good to get that win back and under our feet, and I think for the guys to realize that Nashville was just a fluke, or whether they studied the tape and learned their lesson, but to realize that, okay, we're still going to be okay. We're still going to be in this shield race. I know even talking with you guys during the match, we were freaking out there for a bit when San Jose goes up 2, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute, we lost to Nashville. We're going to lose to San Jose. The sky's falling.
We're out of the shield race. It's all over.
Noonan out.
Cash it in. And 9 minutes later, we're up 4-2, and pretty wild turnaround there.
Yeah, maybe we might overreact sometimes, guys. I think we might.
And if you remember earlier in the season, we could not buy a goal. So putting up 4, if you're looking at the first 3 or 4 games of the season, you would think that would be almost unimaginable at this point. There's been a lot of growth and a lot of adjustments made.
Yeah. Owen on Facebook wants to know if we can see him. We can, and now everybody else can as well. Owen, so congratulations, you made it on the big show. Yes, if you do want to put your best and worst or chat with us as we talk, please feel free to do so. We love to have it there. And because I said that, let's go ahead and do that. Jose, his best is Kubo. I think he calls him here the Japanese god of war. Honorable mention.
Try pronouncing that word, Boston.
I'm not going to.
Try it.
Jose's listened to the show enough. He knows what he's doing to me. Pat Noonan made the right changes and adjustments in this match. Worst, Miazga injury, obviously. Honorable mention to the Quakes pitch. Eric said his best is the dynamic duo. I assume he's talking about Lucho and Kubo. Worst, also Miazga injury. Praying like heck it isn't as bad as it looked. It did look bad. And then we got conflicting reports today. If you guys want to, let's just jump right into that. First thing this morning, Jeff Bergen gets on the radio and says X-rays came back negative. Big laceration. You'll hear more from Noonan later, but early signs is it's not too bad. Might miss some time. And so I go into this press conference like, all right. He just tore his leg up a little bit, cut himself. We're fine. No. Pat Noonan crushed that. I think between that morning interview and that press conference, they probably did a CAT scan or an MRI or something else, right? Because then Pat Noonan said, no, it's worse than originally thought. So we'll see what the doctors at Mercy Health have to say.
I didn't see that second report. That's disappointing.
Really?
And, oh, yeah. I mean, I it looked bad. It looked bad. The worst part about the whole thing is when they stretchered him off and that leg was like hanging off, like if it was broken, if it was a ligament, whatever could be happening. The stretcher was like halfway up his leg, like his ankle was hanging off and just kind of dangling. I went, you could do something better to carry this guy off than letting his injured leg just kind of flop around as you carry him off.
Yeah. You're just disappointed. I think we've been super lucky as a club to not be bitten too hard by the injury bug. There are speaking of San Jose, they're missing both their starting center backs, I believe. Yeah. So like we've been fortunate. We're gonna have to. I knew at some point we were gonna have to weather a storm. It just stinks when it's such a high caliber player like that. Let's talk about FC Cincinnati's back line. Do you think we have what it takes currently on this roster to go? Let's just say 2 months. And that's just a Boston guess, but 2 months, 3 months. Can we fill this in with Hags and Kip Keller and Murphy and Robinson whenever he finally comes home?
I think so, but I think this is going to affect Robinson's chances of playing in the Olympics. because when it comes to like the Olympics, the clubs don't have to release players for that like they would for Copa America or a FIFA sanctioned event. So I think, unfortunately for Miles, if he was hoping to play in the Olympics, that's not going to be a thing for him this year. There's some good news, I guess. You can get him back a little early because I don't see the U.S. going far in Copa America. But the way Kip Keller has played and the way Murphy's played, I think we're going to be all right. That's a serviceable MLS quality back line. It's not the world beaters that we had before, but it's solid enough, I think, that you can get to a point where Matt comes back and you're back to full strength.
I think too, the timing of when it's happening, I think it is a serviceable back line. I think we got some good players back there and some that haven't been available. Alvis Powell out there, I think could run the right center back role if we need to shift some guys around. I think Murphy's playing well on that left side. What do you do with Yedlin? Do you slot him into a right or left center back spot and put somebody else out on the wing? I do think we can roll with it. But again, the timing of if this happened earlier in the season, I would be really concerned because our defense was our strength and still to this point has been. But with our offense beginning to click, we can press higher. We've got more pressure up the field. So, yeah, I think what we have is we still got a good back line in the absence of Miles and Miazga. If we get them back, fantastic. But I think we got some good players back there that can hold their own.
Well, number one, I am a Kip Keller fan and have been since he came to FC. And I've watched his play. I've dissected his play. I don't see any weaknesses other than he may be prone to go a little bit too forward, which I think Noonan would put a stop to, obviously, given the scenario. My big question is, I know we're good on the right side. I know we're good on the left side. There will not be a replacement for Miazga. Do we alter our lineup as far as going instead of 4 defensive backs? Do we do something to amend our defensive structure to kind of shore that up in the middle? Because that's what worries me is the center. Miazga's tall. I mean, that's another point that needs to be made. He is a tall presence, the tallest defender that we have.
And just to pile on, he runs the show. He runs the show back there. So who runs it? Miles is out. Miazga's out. Who's the leader now?
I think that's a big hole.
Yeah, you'd have to think it's Hagland or somebody like DeAndre Yedlin because of the experience. I wouldn't be surprised to see Yedlin not be as involved in the attack as he had been, maybe. Kind of keep him back to shore up the defense a little bit. I don't think we're going to see a dramatic shift in the formation or anything, but as far as like the freedom with which guys are allowed to move up, I think that's definitely going to be reined in. Because even when Miles is here, he is sometimes allowed to go way forward on the attack as well.
Yeah, well, they just have good chemistry and good communication is what it is currently. So anybody can go forward as long as everybody knows he's going and has coverage.
I think we saw Kip when he first went in going high and leaving a hole back there. So I think you're right. I think the leadership, the communication is the biggest hole. I do think, shift Yedlin over a little bit. I think he can lead that. Do we see Hagland in there? I don't know. I think his leadership maybe, but we saw him get exposed a few times in this game with some speed down that side. So, I think the leadership is going to be the thing that we miss. We got guys that can play. I think the leadership and the organization is where we're going to struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know if Brian Weigel was on tonight, he'd be kicking and screaming that it's nice to have Miazga, communicating with Murphy. He sees and honestly, there were some goals in this one. I believe both goals were on Murphy's side, if memory serves me right. And I know one he just got kind of beat on that second goal that they scored. So Brian's biggest, if just to put the ghost in the show, he would be he'd be kicking and screaming, worried about the coverage for that. And I think everybody's just going to have to. Noonan knows what he's doing way more than we do, but they're going to have to make sure that they're in sync and they're not taking extra risks because they're at least until they get a couple games under their feet. I would think.
There was talk earlier on in season 2 of maybe shifting to a 4-back at some point when we lose Miles to the Copa America or whatever. And I don't see that happening. Maybe Noonan does, but these guys practice with the 3-back or 5-back all the time. I think this is what they're used to. They, we don't have Miazga or Robinson back there, but that's what these guys train for day in and day out. They know what they're doing. I think a shift in formation, I think we lose something with our wing backs out there and letting Oriano cook a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Michael thinks we should put Kelsey as a center back.
He's got the height, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Has he ever played? That'd be pretty funny.
No clue.
I'm sure it's a joke, but maybe Michael knows something we don't. And Kelsey
you could have him play like a late running attacker too. Get Baird and Boop up front, and then Kelsey just kind of sneaks in from behind on the attack.
This is not in. I wasn't planning on talking about this tonight, but Boop is apparently good to go. And there were national writers that said he would never play for FC Cincinnati again. And Pat Noonan this week is talking like he very much might play this week. So I think most of us had written him off as usually when Doyle and those guys say that the player's not playing for the team, you don't think he is. So I think maybe FCC has to run him out there, even if they're looking at trading him, just to prove he's good. He's good to go. Yeah. So don't be surprised if you see a little Boop on Wednesday.
I wonder if we got to see what we got to see what he's got. I think the Miazga injury, you said it earlier, Boston, may change our summer window and who we're going for. And there's been rumors swirling. There's still rumors swirling, but without a center back like Miazga that we just lost, does that change who we go after? Maybe it's not that attacker. And maybe we have to squeeze something more out of Boop, and we got to see what he's got. I don't know.
And then how good is it, just to kind of put this in context, how good is it to have Celentano back in the net? I mean, there's some leadership right there, and he's shown that since he's come back.
That's a great point.
I think he just has to enhance that role at this point and start controlling the defenders a little more.
Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm out here pretending like he doesn't exist, and you're right. He There was a time I would say he couldn't command the back, but I think he's earned that right and respect now. So it might just be him running the show.
But that's hard to do when your center backs are at midfield, like when you're pushing forward, right? Yeah. When Miazga's up there controlling things from there, that's hard to do from the 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've come to the conclusion that I don't see the defenders doing that trap, given the absence of Miazga at this point. My question would be, was Miazga the second best or the third best player in our starting 11?
Ooh. Wow, that's tough. I honestly think he's better than Robinson only because he's ingrained more. That's just my take. I don't know if you put stats on a skill, Robinson's playing for the United States and Miazga's not. So there's a lot of people that disagree with me. But as far as on FCC's roster, yeah, I think he's up there, top 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm trying to find his FOTMOB rating offhand, but give me a second.
Is that cheating?
I always have FOTMOB up.
Well, while you do that, let's talk a little bit about the FCC match. They beat San Jose away late at night, 4-2. We've talked about some pitch conditions. They were rough. The field was slippery. I think San Jose probably had the first good chance of the game right away, and then the opening minute or two gave us a little bit of a scare. But to be honest with you, nothing ended up happening in that first half. So when I say 4-2, all 6 of those goals came in the second half. And if you went to bed early, you made a terrible mistake because it was a firecracker. Second half vastly different. First, Bucha takes advantage of. I'll just get a quick poll. Did he fall, or was the pass too far?
Yes. I think it was a matter of it was a poor pass and he didn't have the footing to cut and come back to it. So I don't think Buka would have scored that. I think he would have gotten to the ball first, but he would have been challenged. Otherwise, this guy's laying on the field and just watching, nothing he could do. So yes to both.
But I mean, shout out to him for making that run, seeing it all the way.
And that's good for Pavel because he's had a few good looks at goal so far this year, and just hasn't been able to see one go past the goal line. So to finally get on the scoring sheet has to feel good for him. It's always nice to see those two, like got him and Obi, be contributing to the offense.
Yeah. Then we took our foot off the gas a little bit. Now, to be fair, San Jose is bottom of a table team, but that is mostly due to their awful defending. They actually have a good counterattacking side, and if you watch them play, they honestly haven't deserved to lose as many games as they've lost.
Yeah.
They're a little bit underrated. I was a little scared going to this one, and we saw it. We saw FCC just get burnt on, and not just these two. They could have had another one or two if just things didn't go our way.
Yeah. The one you may be talking about, Boston, I can't remember. The one I mentioned at the top of the show was Pellegrino. He gets a break and he is all by himself. Miazga's chasing. Celentano comes out and he gets big and he slides. Miazga runs past and slides, and Pellegrino stands there like it's in slow motion. Like he can't believe he's got an open goal, two guys on the ground, and he just falls over. Like, I don't even know what happened. The ball stayed behind him somehow. He took an extra step, and he just, like, he was in awe. The two guys just fell in front of him. He didn't know what to do, so he fell down backwards. It was the funniest looking thing, and it looked like it was slow motion. But again, I think the pitch got him there too. He tried to cut, but it just looked like he just fell backwards. That could have been one terrible one right at the top of the game there.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a barn burner, and it looked for a second like it might be one for San Jose. I know that's about the point where I started tuning into what all of our CST guys were saying, and we were a scared bunch.
That was quite entertaining. That was the entertainment of the night for me.
What about you, Bill? Where's your head at this stage in the match?
Well, at this stage in the match, I'm thinking back to the Nashville match, actually. And I'm wondering if we are going to be able to make that comeback and number one, basically stop them from scoring anymore. I thought our play in transition left a little to be desired. I thought we got trapped up a couple of times, and they certainly had the speed up front to make us pay. Some of their shots, and I've seen FC do the same thing, just not on frame. If they're on frame, they go in and they put them over to the right or left. So, I'm seriously concerned at that point, and certainly not thinking I know we can score quickly, but I didn't expect to see us away at that time of night to be able to really pull it off. So a very pleasant surprise to come away with 3 points. And I was really stunned that San Jose didn't capitalize more on their opportunities. That's for sure.
Yeah, there are several games like that this week. Not to get too far off subject before we continue on, but I don't know if any of you guys caught the New York Red Bulls match with Nashville. And Red Bulls had 25 shots to Nashville's 7, but the game ended 0-0 because I take it back. They actually scored twice, but the referee took both of them away. So, good for us in the standings. That's a good draw for FC Cincinnati that Nashville doesn't move up anymore. Or sorry, Red Bulls doesn't move up anymore. Doesn't really matter.
Both New York squads are both very good this year. A little surprising, but both are very good.
But it kind of was a theme, bringing it back to the FCC matches that a lot of teams failed to capitalize on things unless your name is Kubo. because you capitalized on pretty much every chance. There could have been a fourth, though. There could have been a fourth, and we can,
Yeah.
you know, if I'm Pat Noonan, I'm going into that locker room and tomorrow, and I'm like, you think you're all that? Well, you should have had a fourth goal. So bring you back down to earth, son. But no,
Kubo had a 9.5 thought mob rating. Just to let you
Wow.
know.
yeah. So there was 0.5. He could have had 0.5.
Yeah, he could have had a perfect 10.
Wow.
Something to strive.
Yeah.
Oh.
On his first goal, who's screaming, pass it to Assad, get it to Assad, get it to Assad. And he cuts it back and not only scores a goal, he makes the defender and makes the keeper look silly. Like nobody expected him to shoot that ball, which is why I think it was the perfect shot to take.
Yeah.
That's a great point. I wasn't even planning on talking about it, but there was a pass there.
Oh, if he doesn't make that,
absolutely.
he doesn't make that goal, he's public enemy number 1 in Cincinnati, right?
Yeah, and who knows what happens after that, right?
Right.
But all right, I guess we'll talk about. Somebody mentioned it at the top of the show. Noonan subs. He has to bring in Keller for Miazga earlier than he wants, obviously. And then we see Kubo come in all by himself in the 64th-ish minute, and then reinforcements arrive in the 75th with Dado. And who else came in? There was a weird one. He took off.
Is that Assad?
Yeah, Assad, and he took off a defender. So he took off one of his center backs.
He brought in Halsey in the 84th minute.
That's what it was.
For Oriano.
Yeah. But did he take
off? Assad came in for Kevin Kelsey.
Who came in for did we lose a center back, or am I crazy?
Is there Haglund?
That's what that's what I was
Dado
thinking.
came in for Haglund.
That's what I was thinking. That one was weird to me.
That was in the 75th minute.
Yeah, that was where I was like, wow, I mean, that's aggressive. Because we already are down Miazga. But overall, Pat Noonan, I mean, he's gonna get the credit for bringing in a little bit of gumption and an attacking prowess. I guess the unsung heroes for me is Assad. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I thought he put in a good shift. He's a veteran of MLS, and that I think when he comes in, he's a calming presence on the pitch. I've been pretty happy with what I've seen from him so far. He's not flashy in any way, shape, or form, but he's not the kind of player that comes in and you're like, oh gosh, what are we getting out of this guy? Like, he comes in, he puts himself in good positions to contribute, and he really had a hand in each of those Kubo goals. It looked like, whether it was getting out of the way or drawing a defender or doing something like that.
I think he played with Lucho. And so anytime you got a guy coming off the bench that Lucho already knows and already trusts is a bonus. I think you're right. He's put himself in good positions. He knows when to run forward, when to hold. So yeah, I've been impressed with what he's brought to the pitch. I'd like to see him more. Actually, I like to see him more. Maybe we will if Yedlin has to step into more of a kind of a left center back role. Maybe we see Assad as that left wing back a little bit more frequently.
And I think the ability to draw a defender is undervalued and underscored. You got to be watching what's going on away from the ball. You know, most soccer fans are drawn to where the play is happening, but you get a nice wide view, especially at TQL, and kind of look at the movement around and watch where the defenders go when we're attacking. That's a huge change from where we were early in the season, and it's very welcome. And Assad does an excellent job of getting in position and drawing that defender away.
Yeah. David Moore corrected me. Yedlin slid over to the right center back spot. You're right, because Murphy was there at the left center back. You're absolutely correct there.
Yeah. So Noonan brings in the subs, which end up making all the difference in the world, right? Kubo and then Acosta's going to get the glory, of course. Probably my favorite by far was the first one, just because no one in MLS makes that one touch assist except for Acosta. The vision Absolutely incredible. I know Kubo also, you already talked about it, Brian, opened it up and made the shot instead of the pass and made it happen at the top of the box. But overall, yeah, that pass was incredible. And I don't know how I couldn't dream of hitting a ball without even stopping it to get it set on my foot as fast as he did.
But to know, I mean, to make that pass, you have to have confidence that your forward is making that run. And I think that's what Kubo has been doing that we haven't seen maybe some of our other forwards do early in the season, is make that run when you see it open instead of holding back and waiting for that easy pass there in the middle for someone else to run off of you. Kubo's going to see that, and Kubo's going to make that run. Bill, you mentioned earlier about, I think you said something about early in the season when we couldn't buy a goal and we came away with 4 of them this match. It was Kubo then that unlocked our offense, because he was starting at that right wing back position. We started him at forward, and he scored in his first 2 matches as a forward. So I think that guy he's coming into his own finally at that forward position that we brought him to the team to play, and he's played everywhere else on the pitch except there. I think we're starting to see him shine a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we haven't put him in defense yet, so I don't know what the cards hold there. But yeah, he's I'm always curious about the minutes, the games that he starts versus the games that he comes in as a sub, and how many minutes his legs really have in him. I don't think, just because of the position, I just don't think he has the stamina for a full match. But boy, is he a contributor when he does get in the match, for sure.
Autobomb on Facebook said that Acosta pass was the equivalent of an over-the-shoulder no-look NBA assist. Relevant because the finals are on right now.
It was beautiful. Let me ask this: the second goal, the second assist, was that intentional, or was Acosta trying to dribble? Was Acosta? It looked like
I think he was trying to dribble.
But you see, he gets a defender in front of him. The ball gets a little bit too far off his left foot. And he tries to hit it with his right to cut it back, and he misses, and Kubo puts it in. An accidental assist that worked out.
I think if you look at the celebration afterward too, he almost like he's happy there's a goal scored. Acosta, he's happy a goal went in. There's kind of like this,
it wasn't
that
me.
happened kind of look on his face.
He definitely bailed out.
Yeah.
It got too chaotic, and he bailed out, and it just happened to be Kubo. That's where I think Kubo was wise and realizes, I know exactly what Acosta's going to do here, and I'm just going to be waiting and ready, which is awesome, because if you're a forward that thinks you're going to run in there and get the pass, Acosta sometimes he's looking for goal every single time on one of those, in my opinion. So you have to know, you got to play Acosta's game, not play your own game in that situation. We saw Acosta make that same run, and it didn't work out 5 minutes earlier.
Yep.
But the beautiful thing, and this really goes to Bill's point at the beginning, where he says Acosta will do things that does things that absolutely frustrate you and make you want to bang your head in the wall. But he wouldn't be Lucha Acosta if he didn't try to pick up the whole game, put it on his back, and his chaotic middle of the box, frustrating, very low percentage chances just cause enough chaos to work sometimes.
And he'll stop. That's one of my things. When he does turn the ball over, you can look at the frustration, and he'll just stop. He loses the ball. He doesn't go back and try to get it. He has faith in his midfielders to get that ball back and taken care of. He will recover slowly. But yeah, he'll lose the ball as many times as he is able to put the ball forward. But you're right. He goes for goal. You know what's in his mind. And like I said, I can't believe some of the passes, moves, and shots I've seen him take and make. It's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to trust your midfielders to win that ball back when you've got 5 defenders right in your vicinity, right? He does. I think to his credit, as you think about that, he dribbles in open field space, which is great, but he takes it into tight spaces and draws so many defenders. That's why, Kubo was brilliant, like you said, Boston, running into that space, because this ball is going to ping around like a pinball at some point, because there's so many bodies in here. So when that ball squirts out, you've got your central midfielders that can pick it up because they're unmarked.
Yeah. I'd much rather have a Lucha Acosta on my team than than have a team that just passes the ball around the perimeter 17 times and can never no one can ever take the initiative to go in. And you see that a lot in MLS. I mean, I think teams like Nashville really struggle with just Hanny used to be the guy, but even he's backed off a little bit. And you got to have somebody on your team that's the aggressor, preferably one as good as
Do we bring Boupendza back for height in the middle? Because on set plays, we would bring Miazga forward because of his height. Is that the reason Boupendza has a shot coming back?
Go ahead, Jason.
I think if Boupendza comes back, and personally, I hope he does, because I want to see him be successful. And the better he plays, the more transfer fee you might be able to get for him.
Yeah.
But I actually want him to stay here, and I think he's going to be a valuable asset if he can get his head right. But anyway, I think if you bring Boupendza back, you're relying on the give and go between him and Kelsey in a similar way that we had between him and Vasquez last year. Because I think that Boupendza's biggest problem, one of his biggest problems, at least on the pitch, was there is no one else drawing attention in the striker position. But now that we have Kelsey, who I honestly don't think he played the best against San Jose, but he wasn't bad. He gets a lot of attention, and Boupendza doesn't do well when he's the complete center of attention. So I think that's, if Boupendza plays again, that's why, is they're trying to recoup some of the boot money, as David Moore said, but also because they think that tandem between him and Kelsey might work out pretty well.
Now, did the talent of Vasquez make Boupendza better than he really is?
No. Vasquez isn't he's very talented, but no. Vasquez had a bad year last year.
I would disagree with that. He did. I would disagree with that because I think because of the type of player he is, that off the ball movement, he drew the defenders that opened up space for Boupendza that we didn't see early this season with Boupendza and Baird playing. Baird wasn't opening him that space. He wasn't the threat that Vasquez was. Now, I'll say this. I've never seen Boupendza be a threat in the air. Maybe
That's
one
not
header.
his game at all.
Yeah, not at all. So I don't think that's the reason you bring him in. And on top of that, when's the last time we played a set piece into our tall guys that are in there? We're shooting the ball every time and hitting it over. Like, we're not playing it to our advantage. We've got a 6'4" striker. We're not even looking for him. We're trying to play the ball in the upper corners and it's sailing. Even on corner kicks now, we're not sending the ball in. We're playing the short pass and trying to dribble and send it that way. So I think if Boupendza comes back, it's not for that reason. I think maybe because Kelsey is tall and draws some defenders that maybe we'll see some space open up. But I'd like to see Kelsey move better off the ball. I think, first or second game, he comes in, he's drawing defenders to the point where, was it his third game, maybe his first start? I can't remember, against Toronto, and they beat the crap out of him. Yeah. He was drawing two guys the whole time. If he can open up that space for a player like Boupendza, maybe we'll see Boupendza excel. But I don't think we've seen Boupendza play with a forward that will do that.
Yeah. Boupendza has a shot. We all know that, and he's got talent with the ball at his feet. What I worry about most with him is he's just never seemed to get along with Acosta very well. And so I don't want to break up any chemistry issues, which I don't think we're going to see, because in my opinion, if he comes in, it's going to be a guy that's hasn't played in a bit, probably lacks fitness. He's going to be a come in the game late type of sub. If Santos or Baird are out there and they're not doing anything whatsoever, we might see some weird combination of Kubo and Boupendza.
And have we heard when Baird is coming back?
Oh, I said Baird, he's injured. I don't know. Yeah. I really don't know what his status is.
I don't know what his status is.
But I mean, I think overall I'm less worried up there. Boupendza does give you another element, but we've proven that subs sometimes can be the best thing this team has.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's been without Boupendza. So
yeah,
They've played better and scored more without Boupendza than they did with Boupendza.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll be shocked if we get Baird back this week, but I think eventually we'll get them all back. And what we have 1 month, not even June 24th is the opening of the summer transfer window. More like 1.5 weeks. So that's getting closer. That's getting close. We talked about it on last week's podcast. I think you guys hinted at some of the possible trades FC Cincinnati's been looking at. We want to dive into this. I know it's late in the show, but we'd be silly not to. What we've heard, and there was a season ticket holder event recently for certain sections. FCC likes to give these small little events section by section throughout the season, and so I think they did one for pitch view or something over there on the other side of the stadium. And Birding and then some of the front office was there, and their exact words was FC Cincinnati is planning on being aggressive in this summer transfer window, has several players scouted, and has been in talks with them and their agents. So there are plenty of options here. We heard rumors last week and a week before about a possible center back trade with Miami. That looked very interesting. I just can't fathom in a million years how that could still be on the table. If it either had to have been signed before a Miazga injury, but if there is even legs with that, which I mean, there are a few people out there in the FCC sphere that think this is going to happen, but I immediately turn around if that was the plan.
What was that rumor exactly? Because I don't remember hearing that one or reading that one. Was it we would send a center back out to Miami?
Yeah, we would send a center back, one of our two better center backs, I'll just put it that way, to Miami in a trade that would send 2 players here. Most notably young players that FC Cincinnati could use in the next several years versus just 1 year.
Now, was that, again, not to press in too much to that, are we assuming it was Miles or Miazga, or was that stated that they were looking at one of those two?
I didn't hear a name, but what I heard was, but when you look at a roster, Robinson makes the most sense.
But we only have 1 year contract with Robinson.
That's why he's the only person that makes sense to deal. Robinson would probably say yes to going to play with Messi. So, you wouldn't have a big objection on his side, you would think. And then it just seems like a trade Albright would make only because it sets the club up. Miami would be betting more for this year, and FC Cincinnati would be betting for the next 3 years, which still having a decent chance at this year because they already have a solid CB core. That was before Miazga got hurt, by the way. So,
yeah, that changes a lot of things in this summer window. That I haven't heard that rumor anymore since that match the other night. All I've heard is Ronaldo or Mbappe are coming to FC Cincinnati. Have you guys heard those?
Don't believe those.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, just throwing it out there. Everyone else is.
Yeah. So I don't know. I haven't heard a peep in a week and a half, but from what we heard, I think it was at least an option presented that they were considering. And why would you not? That's an intriguing enough proposition that I think you definitely visit it if you're Albright and you roll it around and decide if it's a good idea. So we'll see. I think this changed a lot, but we'll see. FCC might need help defensively. We mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but the good news is we talked in previous episodes, Cincinnati has money to spend here. If you let Boop go, which is still considered a high probability transaction that will take place, then we have another deep designated player coming in and probably need backing.
There's been news out there, and I think it's Taylor Twellman said that FC Cincinnati is looking at signing a big name, air quotes, whatever that means. So I mean, we're not going to get Sergio Ramos, I don't think. You're not going to convince him to come to Cincinnati, Ohio, but I think there are some options out there.
Yeah. Big. I mean, I would hope so, because if you're selling Boop and you're dropping $7-8 million on the next guy, because that seems to be what they've always done. I mean, he better have a name somebody recognizes. It probably won't be me, but I want to hear one of you guys. I want to hear one of you guys go, yeah, I watched that guy in Turkey, or I watched that guy.
Turkey. Yeah, the hot.
You're asking the wrong guy to be watching Turkish.
And if we go back to the Miles Robinson rumor too, part of that was we got him basically free off of Atlanta, right? There was the transfer fee or whatever, the exchange hands or something, but they're basically paying him, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit, it's less than 100,000 is what I think our total investment is in him.
Yeah, I think Robinson wanted to go, and he decided to stay in America one more year. So the assumption has been that he is headed to Europe, no matter what. Some way, somehow, he's going to Europe next year.
So real quick on the standings. So in the Supporters Shield Cup, 2 points behind Inter Miami with 2 games in hand. Thoughts? I think it's a good spot myself.
Yeah, we got to be careful.
I don't think the goal this year was, obviously you want to win the Supporters Shield if you can, but I don't think that was the goal necessarily. I mean, Columbus snuck into the playoffs last 2 weeks of the season and wound up winning it all. So I think I'm happy with where they are. I was hoping for a top 4 finish. If we sneak in and win the Supporters Shield, great. But I'm more focused on MLS Cup and League Cup. Yeah, let's win the double, baby. Do it.
Yeah, we talked a couple weeks ago about that. I think we're all surprised at the position we're in with the number of players and the personnel that we lost last season. The guys that have come in and stepped up and filled those roles in ways we didn't see coming. I think I'm really surprised by that. If we win the Shield again, great. But I think the focus needs to be on the Cup.
And if you're talking about the team that knocked us out, that's coming up Wednesday night.
Yep.
I thought we'd be good, and I thought we'd have a chance at the Shield in like a late season run. I also did not believe Miami, despite having Messi, would be able to go on this competitive streak that we have to like keep up with them. No way in a million years did I think FC Cincinnati and Inter Miami were going to go on a neck and neck run and leave pretty much the rest of the league in their dust while they continue to battle out wins, and then they lose the same week. So
I did hear Miami was going to finish the season with 9 men. That's what I heard.
Philadelphia will probably still give them a win. But so I am surprised at how it's happened, and I think it's interesting. I worry about games at hand though, because Crew are 4 games back, and they swear that they're going to win all 4 of those. But I think the more games in hand you have, the harder it is to turn those into points. So, if 2 games in hand, okay, not so bad. Yeah, you theoretically have 6 points there. I'd say conservatively you have 4 points there. If you're a Crew fan, I think it's going to be really hard to turn that into 12 points. But yes, technically, if you look at Crew's 4 games in hand, they are in the race with us in Miami.
Yeah.
I just want to see. Go ahead.
I just want us to get through the next month or 2 and Leagues Cup just relatively, knock on wood, injury free and just play well. We don't need to even be in like the top 2 in my opinion right now. Let's just keep cruising right now.
I'll disagree with you there. I'll disagree with you there, Jason, because now we're here. Now it's ours. Now it's ours to lose. So
every bad game is the sky is falling. So
But all right, I wanted to ask you guys what else are you watching? What's intrigued you this year, whether it's locally, nationally, or internationally? I got a chance to catch an NWSL game on Saturday. I got all hyped up with our possible announcement, so I drove down to Louisville, watched Rose Lavelle play Lou City's women's team, and stadium definitely was better inside than I thought it was going to be. Pretty nice facilities overall. I'll give them the credit where credit's due. Definitely probably the best USL venue since we left. I won't put it over Nippert, but awesome game to watch. I'm really excited about getting an NWSL team even more. Now I think we could show up and show out better than they did, and but also have a pretty cool rivalry with them. So excited about that. But that got me thinking. What else are you guys watching? What else is interesting to you right now?
Well, I just finished watching my, locally, my son's team finishing up in the state cup as losing to the first place team, the team that won it all. So we finished third in state of Indiana, which was kind of fun. So now that's over, been watching a couple of the Euros, the games that are going on now. That's just always fun, good soccer, and looking forward to the Copa America. I almost said Gold Cup. The Copa America coming up. And
Not another Gold Cup.
Yeah, and was thrilled with especially after the U.S. finish against Colombia. Was thrilled with the tie against Brazil and having a Brazilian friend in the room ready to just tear me apart when they destroyed us. And the disappointment on his face when it ended up in that draw 1-1. So that's a bit of what I've been watching.
Well, I must admit, I used to watch quite a bit of the Premier League, but since the MLS has just captivated my attention so much, I just watch as much of that as I possibly can. I want to see what's coming up. I want to see what's in the Western Conference. I do have a tie to Seattle, so watching how bad the Sounders are this year, and they're not good. They're not good, but I've been watching pretty much MLS almost exclusively, and look forward to the Olympics. And those games will start, not too long from now.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've been trying to watch the Euros, but Fox Sports makes it nearly impossible to watch all the games because they don't have a good app to watch them from. I will say, so like regionally or whatever, back here in the US, I have been trying to get more into the NWSL. I wax and wane. I got my Utah Royals inaugural season pride scarf back there. So I'm with you, Boston. I wrote a little column on CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com.
Yeah, that was great.
About the NWSL possibilities here. I'm stoked. I think I think Cincinnati would be a front runner to get a team. And the thing is, there's so many women playing in the NWSL who are kind of the right age that we could have like 3 or 4 players on the team from Cincinnati, not just Rose Lavelle. There's several others out there.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun. If you don't watch women's soccer, and I think that's something people are learning about the WNBA too with Caitlin Clark, women's sports are rough, man. Girls are tougher than guys. And if you foul in women's soccer, it's a foul. It's not this, oh, I got touched, I'm going to act like I got shot and you broke my ankle. No, like you're going to feel it. So get into it, man. And then also just from an MLS standpoint, y'all know that I do follow RSL. They are my dark horse. They might be the 3rd best team in the league or the 2nd best team in the league.
Yeah.
If you're not watching them, talk about a team that is fun to watch and finds a way to win.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rooting for them to win the Western Conference this year. They are a ton of fun and worth staying up late to watch.
Yeah, I did. We were on a little break. We played that Wednesday and didn't have a Saturday game. So I think I watched RSL's game that night. And I do watch, I'll say this, I do watch Miami when FCC's not on, but not for the sake, it's weird, not for the sake of watching Messi, which is why most people watch. I watch Miami to see them lose. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that hasn't happened much.
Go. RSL, I think, is incredible because most teams go out in there and they sign a big DP and then they hope it solves all their problems. And 99 times out of 100, it doesn't. They need other pieces. They need other things. That guy is performing at
Chicho Arango.
Yeah, the level way beyond expectations. You would expect there to be some kind of MLS. You know, they always say MLS is a physical league. It's tough to come into and just learn day one, but every once in a while there'll be a player that completely just shatters that and breaks that expectation. I think he's done a great job.
And they're a team a lot like Cincinnati in that, I mean, Cincinnati will go out and pay a lot for a player, but they're a mid-market kind of team. They're not going to go out and buy, like you said, a big name DP. Chicho Arango, I think, was let go on a free from LAFC or from very little. And he's got a chip on his shoulder. Plus, you know,
no one thought he was going to do what he did.
And they're kind of in a situation like, who wants to go live? I mean, I lived there for 8 years, but it's kind of hard to convince people to go live in Salt Lake City, Utah, you know, if you're trying to convince good players to come over. So I have a special place in my heart for them. They were my first MLS team that I had season tickets to. So I'm happy to see them doing well.
All right. Well, thanks for that. I appreciate it. We'll get into your final thoughts. First, I wanted to give a shout out to Beyond Exercise and Apollo Home, our two sponsors. We flew right through the show. Never even said hi to either one of them. But Apollo Home, if you have not had your AC inspected prior to this summer, call Apollo. Schedule appointment online at apollohome.com. If you've ever had HVAC, plumbing, or electrical needs, they're our go-to, and they've been great for any soccer fans that we've referred to them. So I would again give them a shout out. Beyond Exercise is the same local business. Actually, Eric was down with Natty SC last week. This guy cares. You know, he cares enough to just to step away from his business and go hang out with old FC Cincinnati players playing down in Cary, North Carolina. I mean, awesome guy. He helps our podcast keep it running. So we would love it if you would go over there to Beyond Exercise and give him a shout. I think Brandon Vasquez was in town last week and week before, and I saw on Instagram he was at Beyond Exercise. So he came back and did his training here in between their Mexican seasons. So
wow,
pretty cool. So if you really want to see Brandon, that's the place to hang out, by the way.
Eric's a good dude. I did get to talk to him down at TST.
Yeah.
He gave us some time to pull away from the training session and did an interview with us. So that's out on Twitter if you're interested in getting to know Eric a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that guy. All right, Jason, we'll get into your final thoughts.
Final thought, if you don't know who this guy is, go on YouTube, look up Anthony La Rosa. He had a cool YouTube channel. He is a Columbus fan, so we'll forgive him for that. But he just announced that he is going to be like the new director of content for FC Cincinnati. So it just shows that being creative and working hard, you can land a pretty cool job. So congrats to him. Looking forward to see what he does for the better team in Ohio.
Can we get a like some kind of ceremony where he has to recant his allegiance?
The postcast has like the Order of Harambe, and I think you have to be baptized in a vat of Skyline or something like that.
Is that it?
I think that's what it is. I'll have to ask them.
They're the experts on humorous punishment, so I'll let them to manage that. All right, Brian, get you in here.
Yeah, no, it's good to have soccer back. You know, we had a bit of a break and now we're coming back full steam with MLS. We're coming back full steam with the Euros. We've got, Leagues Cup coming up. There's just a lot happening. And so it's good to be back in the swing of things. We've had, 2 special shows in the last couple weeks here for CST. And it's just exciting to have something to talk about our team that's taken the pitch 3 times in the next, several days. So yeah, just glad to be back.
All right, Bill, thanks for being on. I think you crushed it, man. Way better than my first go. I'll give you that.
Well, I've told I have a face for, radio, so there is something to be said there. I do have a Twitter handle. It's just Bill Taylor FCC. You can follow me there. It's a new channel. Always adding some content, looking for some input. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen in the back, right? For FCC. I'm an FCC guy, so I'm gonna hound that all day long. Looking forward to the game tomorrow night. Really looking forward to a really bad Revolution team coming in on Saturday night. So
Not as bad as they were.
Oh man, but I'm telling you, when you look front to back, I mean, they're at the bottom of the table for a reason. 16 points all year. That's we've more than doubled them. So, but yeah, I mean, everything changes quickly. I think we saw that with Nashville. Anything can happen. That's why you play the games. Real quick, your thoughts on coming away out of these two games. Is it 6? Is it 4? Is it 2? What does it look like to you guys?
I always say 4, and I'm usually wrong because it's been 6 most of the time.
I'm gonna say 6 because both Philly and New England have been on a downturn recently.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree with 6, but that hole in the back could sway things a little bit.
Yeah, New England, I will say, I think we beat Philly easy enough just because they're so torn up right now, and they're trading all their players away. But New England has won 3 in a row, I think, which scares me a little bit that they're figuring stuff out. Carlos Gill's no joke, so you have to lock him down no matter what you do.
And it's a great ownership group out there too, but they've definitely struggled in the back this year. So we'll see if we can put some more in the net.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. My final thoughts, I'm just going to kind of put this out here. This is way too early, as I don't think Cincinnati would receive an NWSL team till 2026, 2027 if they were awarded one. But we're definitely looking to partner with somebody more than to do our own thing. Obviously, we don't want to stand up something and then have like the 4 of us guys tell everybody what's going on in a women's league. No one wants to hear that. So we are looking for partners in the future when it's time to kind of help out. Like, I don't think it needs to be something we run. I don't think it needs to be something that we put our big stamp and logo on. What we want and what we're genuinely interested in is fans of NWSL and women around Cincinnati being able to have something that's more of their own. Obviously, over on CST, we're obviously going to cover it, but let's just say, even if it's something completely independent that we can just get resources from added to our website here and there, that's fine with me. Like, I would rather it be full coverage, its own thing that people can depend on, and not being, I think there's a tendency sometimes, like the 4 of us, what do we talk about every single week? It's FC Cincinnati. So there's a tendency, if the 4 of us were responsible for in an MWSL team, there would be a temptation or a tendency for us to kind of maybe talk about FCC a little too much or more and bury it. And that's not something we want to do. So if you're interested, send us an email at feedback@cincinnati-soccertalk.com. Like I said, it's pretty far in the future, and we're just pinging around ideas at this point. Nothing serious, nothing solid, but we would love to support someone standing something up. And we've actually reached out to our friends at the Post, and they have a similar idea. So hopefully we can work together and collaborate on something cool. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. I think this is deep. We're almost to the 400 episodes of the main show. So Brian Weigel will have to turn the page on new graphics. But we really appreciate you guys listening and keeping it going and supporting us all this time. And double whammy this week, Wednesday, Saturday. Stay tuned. We'll have plenty of stuff on the website and on the podcast feeds. See you next week.